My name's Emma Jane, and I am the founder of Digitalex. So we are a Web3 fashion protocol. And how you can digest that is think of an intersection of digital fashion, physical fashion with NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs.
What is where to earn?
Yeah, good question. So that was coined out of the Digitalex ecosystem. But you can think of play to earn. It's all about you are contributing to a digital economy, and then you're actually receiving value back from that. So where to earn is very, very similar, but instead it's your clothes and your fashion, and particularly your digital fashion, but also physical as well, that you wear that actually gives you yield or gives you value. So one example is this actual jumper that I'm wearing right now. This is an NFT. So it's a physical fashion piece, but it's also backed on chain by an NFT. A buyer, they come and they purchase this fashion that they can wear IRL, and then they can take that NFT and they can stake that. I don't know if I'm getting too technical with the words, but they can stake that in a smart contract and then earn cryptocurrency yield. So it's like I've paid for a fashion item, but I'm also getting additional compounded value on top of that. So it's like unlocking and unfreezing utility for fashion across the digital and physical realms. So this is called fractional garment ownership, and it's all about injecting composability within fashion. Because if you think about now the barrier to entry for a fashion designer, it's pretty hard. Physically you have to gather all your materials, you have to have a production side or a supply chain in a sense, and then create your garment. And you've kind of put out a lot of risk before you've even potentially got a first sale. And it's a little bit different with digital fashion when you're using 3D softwares or programs to create digital clothing, but it's still this thing you have to kind of encompass yourself in a new skill that takes time before you're able to see the value back. And so fractional garment ownership is all about providing additional composability to this and literally breaking up a fashion garment, digital or physical, into its most smallest parts. So that's patterns, materials, and textures. And the barrier to entry for a designer, particularly digital designer, to go online and create a quick pattern out of like a photo mosh tool is very easy. It can take about 5 minutes. And so they can start kind of building up this content library and contributing that to an open source on-chain pattern, material, and texture NFT library. And what that allows is for other designers to come and they can actually take some of those patterns, materials, and textures because they're entirely open sourced. But when they move those and they use them in their master garment, that's actually tracked on-chain by the blockchain. So there is this acknowledgement of movement of these goods or these content. And that means when there's that final point of sale, when this master garment is sold as an NFT, it actually is able to own on-chain. This is maybe getting a little bit technical, but it owns on-chain the sub-NFTs or the child NFTs that actually make it up, which is these patterns, materials, and textures. So now you have this record and this chronological record of an on-chain royalty split where in a trustworthy manner, who were the actual designers and creators that contributed to that final output, and then you have that split of value between all of those contributors. Why does the fashion industry get away with being so unsustainable? Like everyone knows about it. Everyone knows, like you said, of this crazy landfill. I think fashion is even the second most wasteful industry in the world after oil. It's absolutely crazy, but it still goes on and no one really does anything about it. And why does it happen? Well, it's because the control and the power of the industry is in a very concentrated group of centralized players. Even the profits within the industry, it goes to 20 brands, or even I think it's something like just crazy about how much of the value is just directed into a few hands. And then when you look at really how much value the industry is creating and how much opportunities there could be for designers, creators, buyers, wearers coming in. And so when you think about from a centralized control point of view, these actors, they have no accountability. They have no, someone checking over their shoulder and saying, hey, be more transparent, because they don't have to be. They can say, well, go away, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And so decentralization, the blockchain in the fashion industry is incredibly powerful from a sustainability point of view, because now it's saying, well, we don't need to trust you anymore. We can put everything on this unified ledger, and we will track based on that. And so it forces transparency, and that in itself is an incredibly powerful tool because it really brings much more accountability into the system, and it really democratizes now, well, if you aren't doing certain things that you might be saying that you're doing or expressing that you're doing, it's very clear for anyone to go and publicly check. So that's one side of it. And then when you talk about digital fashion, Well, digital fashion, the industry itself, was spawned out of wanting to make the traditional fashion industry more sustainable. That was literally why these 3D software programs were created, so that designers, they could come in and they could actually produce items in a digital form rather than kind of doing the basic processes in the traditional or physical world and then having a lot of wasted materials. So these programs were used to kind of prototype a lot of the fashion items rapidly and not have waste, and then you go and create the final the final IRL garment or physical garment, and that's kind of reduced a lot of potential waste and caveats and barriers within that traditional supply chain process. So that was how it spawned out of. But what people started to realize is, well, this idea of gaming and the metaverse and having an online digital identity isn't something that's going away. In fact, it's so permanent already and permeate throughout everything that we do. And fashion and digital fashion is going to be an incredibly important part of that. So it's just grown out of there, really, the digital fashion side of stemming from sustainability and this kind of idea of how can we be better to our planet, as you put it as well. But it in itself has created an entirely wondrous emporium industry that now is really pioneering forth this idea of, well, how do you get dressed in the metaverse? So actually, we created the very first Global Designer Network Decentralized Autonomous Organization, or DAO, which is filled with hundreds of digital and physical fashion designers who, like what you said, are overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. No one's helping them. And this DAO is specifically about that. It's onboarding them one-on-one to understand, well, what is crypto? What is NFTs? What's even setting up a wallet? Why is that important? How do you keep your funds even safe when you're navigating this new market? How do you even navigate the market as a fashion designer or a creator? So you can think of it like as a tight-knit, aligned community that is wanting to pioneer and move forward and make a better fashion industry, and they're coming together as self-sovereign, independent individuals, but they have a mission to drive forth, and they're supporting each other in all of that. So what designers can do is they can reach out on our website, and we have a section saying join the Global Designer Network DAO, and all that is joining a Discord group where they're welcomed into this community, and they're kind of given an educational onboarding process for, okay, how do you go from knowing nothing to then seeding that and iterating to be able to sell a garment in Web3 or through NFTs, be able to gain value back from that, to be able to access and start leveraging these tools and infrastructure that we're building. Digitalax.xyz, so digitalax.xyz. My handle is EmmaJane1313 on Twitter, and then for Digitalax, it's @Digitalax_.